What is up, bro? It's me, Josh. Here. In today's video, we are going over some Tier 8 Cleveland play. And this was something that was kind of brought up by a viewer on the Twitch chat, and he was asking kind of how he should be playing the Cleveland. This seems to have some trouble. As we all know, if you've ever played Tier 8 matchmaking, you get up-tiered a lot, and we are bottom tier, of course, going into this as a Cleveland, and then even a CV game. So not only do we get to be bottom tier, there will be some CV, so we'll be spotted a little bit extra. Luckily, the Cleveland is a really good jack of all trades cruiser, high rate of fire, relatively decent, as long as you run inertia fuse, relatively decent alpha damage, great AA, you know, it's perfect against destroyers, all kinds of these cool tools that you can have, and really location with the Cleveland. Even I think the Cleveland up tiers relatively well, even at bottom tier. I think up tiers pretty damn good, because it's just about how you can set up where you are on the map to be as effective as possible. So of course, it is a 2v2 destroyer game. We actually have the advantage with having two stealthy DDs compared to them having the Kaba and the Akazuki. So first what I'm going to do is I'm trying to help this Z52. It ends up being kind of a waste of time, but you'll see how he plays throughout this start of the game. But you'll see how effective that the Cleveland can be as long as using line of sight. And what do I mean by that is using stuff like angle. If you ever played the light cruiser line especially, you know, or just the Cleveland in general, it has a relatively high trajectory, which means that it's a bit of a lofty shell, almost like if you've played something like the Atlanta. What you want to do is you want to get behind islands, kind of like this one up right here, or one of these low-lying corners, get far enough away where you can lob over. It's all about getting into a spot and getting to an angle where you can kind of shoot over and have that advantage of being able to shoot over as long as things are spotted and they can't shoot back because of the trajectory difference. Now, of course, if you are a Cleveland versus Cleveland or something like that, they'll be just fine. And it's even tough against a Kaba like this, even at 10 kilometers, to kind of get really efficient, or like a Worcester. Worcester is really nasty as well with a higher rate of fire, the tier 10. But here we go. This is the Z52. We tried to help out. What any normal person would have done right here is just smoke up, but he has decided to just ripple fire against a Kaba, and then the Kaba is just going to basically get a free kill on a DD that should have outspot him. So that is going to be one of our tier 10 stealthy destroyer basically throwing away his ship in the first 3 minutes of the game. So appreciate that, guy. Hope you had fun. We definitely did. And now we got to kind of make up for being down a tier 10 DD in only a 2 as you can see, we were a little bummed out that that guy just continued to ripple fire like that. But what are you gonna do? That's high tiers. But regardless, though, we know that the stealthy DD, is on that side of the map right now. I think, yeah, he's on that, as you can see on the 9 line. So we can kind of, I'm basically as stealthy as anything is over here. The only thing that's going to be just as stealthy as me is going to be the Worcester. So I am trying to get into spots where I can pump out damage. As you can see, this island's basically perfect, where we can just start lobbing out shells. As long as that Cleveland gets out of the range, or not the Cleveland, the Khabarovsk gets around that corner, I can basically just sit here and just farm these guys as long as they're spotted, which we have a CV. So as long as they're spotted, I will be able to just absolutely farm. The Conqueror, although it will heal majority of it back, he gets really low twice this game, but of course he's a Conqueror, so he will just continue to just come back with new ships basically. He gets really low, but we will start getting some damage out, and we will start kind of trying to focus. The one thing you can kind of do, though, is since it has a relatively low at 9.3 kilometer detection, the Cleveland can be semi-aggressive, as you even saw when that Khabarovsk pushed around the corner. There was really... The Kaba didn't even spot me. He got spotted beforehand, and so I had a pretty decent job of getting that first shot in. But what I'm trying to think of now is help this Worcester. If this Worcester dies, I have a really good setup for just going straight capping a cap and then going into the middle. That's my whole thought process right here. But I can't do that with the Worcester right there. He's just gonna be able to just alpha me down, and his rate of fire is absolutely nuts, and I'm excited to get that ship. We were kind of grinding the Cleveland for a bit, so we ended up getting some pretty decent footage and some pretty good games, and we're gonna get a monster amount of credits, or not credits, but XP after this game as well. But you can see kind of the strengths of getting into a really good spot with this ship, and then how hard it is to get this ship out of said spot. It's actually really tough. So we're trying to do as much damage as we can, hitting things at 14-15 kilometers. I mean, with the 13-14 second travel time, it's really tough. Things have to basically be chilling and not moving, or else you're just going to get rocked. And of course, there's the 5K salvo from the Wooster and the fire. Those things are just fire breathers and a pretty nasty ship. But everything's far enough away, so I'm just hoping that I don't get lit on fire, and then I can go in and actually cap A, and then try to not get murdered by, let's say, this Conqueror or whatever, or one of the other battleships over there. And I can actually work towards B cap. As you can see, their team is very spread out. So when you are a ship like the Cleveland, you're really effective of about 12 kilometers in, because of just the loft on your shells. You get outside maybe 12, 13, 14, 15, basically pushing the range of 15.6. You're gonna have a hard time really being effective just because of the velocity and getting consistent damage out. It's just gonna be tough to do. So, but as you can see, they're kind of all pushed out. Kind of the 1-2 line for a few of the ships. We don't exactly know where the Kaba is, and our Chappie just continues to keep shooting. So he is going to go, instead of potentially going dark, he could have probably lived here, honestly, if he didn't go into the middle of the cap. But it's okay, just like the Z-52. He will go down as well, and we're still going to be all right. The thing is, I do have 9-kilometer radar, so if that guy, I think I said 9.3, I meant 9.1 on the detection. So if I get spotted, I know that I will be really close to radar. And so what I'm going to do here is basically try to get this cap, and then we can see the cap is way over on the 1 line, so that's fine. And so I'm going to try to get this cap and then roll into B cap, because we are down 2 ships, but we can potentially get some more pressure on them just straight up point-wise. I ended up getting spotted by planes, tried to help the CV out, and so I kind of had to bail on A cap, even though we were pretty close, but I just can't take the damage right now with these 2 battleships that are off to my right side or left side. And so I figured I would throw up AA as much as I can, and then really just try to get set up into B cap. We'll just take our losses right here, shoot down as many planes as possible, and just try to set up for kind of a late game spot and try to knock down as many planes. Of course, as they're flying over me. Cleveland, a really high AA ship. The light cruisers are great. And again, this is a really nice spot. You can use kind of the lack of range, honestly, that the Cleveland has to its advantage. Because if you fire your guns, you get spotted now with the spotting mechanics out to your max range. So with the Cleveland having a relatively short range, if I can get into a spot right here where I can shoot over this island, and you'll see me switching angles a lot. The Conqueror's in kind of a tough spot here because of these islands. He's kind of too close. But if you see just outside on, what is the F1, that's barely in range. So if there's nothing here and there's nothing in this angle, there's actually nothing that will spot me. This Conqueror would have actually been smart to actually straight up push me. There's nothing I would have been able to do. But he ended up going a bit to the outside. But the parts that's really nice about here is I will end up being basically a no-fly zone. And what I mean by that is I will have this whole, we're kind of winning C cap, we just capped B, and I will be this no-fly zone of just kind of wrecking any planes that come into the middle. And I can also set up with a couple of my battleships that we can do as much damage as possible. And I can get into a good spot as well to kind of just lob these shells over. Obviously in front of me we have the Wooster still, so that's kind of a problem. But situations like this, where I can get all of my guns on target, continuing to shoot down planes. Of course, I'll be spotted by planes, but stuff like this is where this ship shines. When you get into a spot that's awesome, like just watch that Conqueror. He was down to 1,100 life, and we'll see what he comes back to. But right now, we can work down this North Carolina. There's no way this North Carolina can hit me. There's just absolutely no way, and we're just going to start plunking down these planes from the sky as well, giving our CV as much of a chance to come back. And as long as those cruisers that are off to my, basically right in front of me, I'm trying to kind of set up into a spot, but we need to take these guys out. And my Tirpitz right there is just getting woostered right now. There's nothing he can really do. Right now, we're in a really good spot. And the reason is we're not getting spotted when we shoot. Obviously, we're causing havoc on these islands, but we're trying to find that sweet spot. I'm a little bit far away, or probably a little bit too close. That was the ghost shells. I don't know what that was. But we had like some ghost shells there. I don't know if you guys saw that. They just went right through the ship. I don't know if that's a bug or something right now. I brought it up with the CC or in the CC Discord. Nothing really came of it. I don't know if that was desync or what, but they went, on my screen they went right through the ship. So there's some Casper the Friendly Ghost shells basically in this game, I guess. But anyways, right now though we have kind of set up, and the thing with the Cleveland and this ship is that it's really important to find a spot on the map and then not treat this like an open water. You'll hear me call ships like open water ships, or call them island humping ships, if you will. And this line, just like the USN line in general, are kind of these island humping ships where your main setup is trying to find a part of the map where you can use cover to help you and make an advantage for you because you have that arc. Stuff that are open water ships, like the Russian line is kind of an open water ship. The German line, the IJN line, those are all ships that do better in open water. USN does better near cover because of that arc and using that to your advantage as much as possible. So what I like to do, set up into a spot, be kind of a no-fly zone, be a no DD zone because of your radar. And as you can see here, he's going to send in his entire group. So I will be in no-fly zone for most of these, and I will keep him alive as much as possible. And we can just start feeding more planes. You'll see me get a pretty decent amount of planes on this right here. But he has to fly through me to get anywhere with these planes, right? He has to go through this to get to my team unless he wants to go all the way around. If he wants to go all the way around, I'm fine with that. Because one, it's going to take him a long time before it drops. And it's just wasting time that he has to drop him. So he's going to get a couple hits on this Alsace. And I don't think he dropped one of them. But continue to focus fire down. Stuff like dive bombers, he's running AP dive bombers, you can tell by the symbol. Keep focusing torpedo bombers, and then just, if you can, switch your AA over to whatever, like fighters. Fighters are really good to help your CV out. Ours ended up not being very good, so we kind of had the stack. This game kind of stacked against us, and even I think the Caba got all the way around, and he ends up killing our midway right there. Kind of a bummer. But I'm still doing all right. I have 2 charges of AA. I haven't really taken that much damage. And we have relatively healthy teams with a couple decent high health teams. And us taking BCAP, us taking everything else is actually pretty nice too, because with this, we can kind of hold the 2 caps and work it. Again, here you can see me kind of getting into a opportunistic spot that this North Carolina won't be able to shoot me, but I can shoot at him. And I'm kind of worried about where this Conqueror is. I can't really see him, but still. We're using that island, and boom, right here. We are undetected when we fire, using that island as cover, and then we can do what we can and start pumping out some damage, because we gotta start getting some kills. Although we do have the lead, we don't have a CV anymore, and it's a tier 10 CV, so a bit of a bummer. And as you can see here, I'm trying to find that best spot to kind of get over this island. But still, he has to push into us and get into that right spot. So I'm actually going to back out just a tad, get a little bit greedy here. He could have easily blocked me. I got really lucky that the Conqueror wasn't very aggressive at all. He could have smashed me. Again, the Conqueror's up to 29k or whatever. But we're going to angle away, do what we can, and start pumping out some more damage on this guy. One module I did switch up on this is I switched up from steering gears to propulsion. I actually really enjoy that. We got lucky here. I will say we got lucky here. RNG was on our side. I should have easily been just annihilated, but only 1 shell hit. I don't have AA yet for this, but we will once the main planes get around. But still, we can kind of work it and boom, pop the AA and start shredding out some more planes. We're trying to keep this Alsace alive as much as possible. He's been playing pretty solidly, and boom, only 1,000 on that, which probably would have killed him without my AA. So here, they have to fly into me to do anything. I think the Tort bombers won't be close enough, but still we're focusing on the dive bombers and just making them come to me. Make them come to me. It's very, very tough, even being bottom tier, for tier 10 ships to push into a Cleveland. Especially Cleveland with a really, really, really good situation and a setup like I do, right? I have all this cover, then they have to push into me. My alpha damage and stuff, and my fire chance is just so high. Make them push to you. You don't want to be the ship pushing to them. That's just not how effectively how you. It's not. You won't be that effective if you continue to just be an open water ship, and there's just nothing you can do. That's not your strength, right? So always find the strength of the ship and work with it. This ends up being what people ask, like, well, this isn't that strong of a map for this ship. This isn't this. This isn't this. What about high tiers? Blah blah blah. The Cleveland and this playstyle works pretty well with almost any map. There are spots in every map that you can have a really, really good setup and a really, really good line of sight usage that you can just be super effective like I am right now. Late game, I am destroying. I'm being like the perfect teammate right now. I gave that Alsace a ton of time to live when he and I worked down that battleship, and we were just being basically true champions right now. The battleship that's in my div is staying close to me to keep him alive. I have one more, and of course the CV is spotted, so we are going to put some pressure on him as well and try to not get obliterated by this Conqueror. I think he puts in a salvo, but it was too slow. Yeah, I think he put in one salvo. So I'm trying to figure out the best spot for this, but we're just going to start working down this midway. Keep those fires rotating, and again, location, location, location. We're trying to figure out where the best spot is and make them come to you. Make them come to you. Don't push out to them. You're just gonna get smashed. You don't have enough armor. It's not that you can, even though you can go dark from this situation, but still, being able to just post up, and as you can see right now, you're gonna see me backing up. This Conqueror is pushing this corner. Obviously, it's what I would do too, because he just has to get into the game. And we got really lucky that the Cleveland does not take AP dive bombers that poorly, but I mean, we're gonna start destroying this midway. And looking for the radar, there's the Conqueror right there as well. We're trying to see if maybe we can snag the Kaba, seeing how close he can get. But still, just working down this midway. It's just easy, easy, easy. So one thing I could have done, which probably a lot of people would have done, is maybe pushed towards the 1-2 line to kind of get those kills. As you can see, we kind of just let that go because we're not going to be that effective there, because that's not what our ship is good at. You have to look at that. Even at bottom tier, we're just not good at going open water. Although we can pump out a ton of damage if something's heading towards me and we can kind of kite away. The actual USN line is pretty decent at that. But overall, we want to get into a spot where we can use it. This isn't a play style for everyone, too. A lot of people actually don't like this play style. They find it a bit boring. I was never a big Des Moines fan myself. But it's effective. It's very, very effective. As you can see, this late game, we've just posted up and they've single filed coming into, come into this middle of the cap, and we're just gonna hold it down and just have a good time and farm some damage. Although I don't want this Conqueror to murder me, so I'm gonna go I'm gonna back up around this corner, use my health pool as an advantage, and let the Turpits do Turpits things, and then we'll go pick on this this midway after that. We do have the Kaba south side, but I mean, he's still so far away, so who honestly really cares? But now we're full speed. We have another AA consumable, even if he pops it off, and we're going to be fine. So we'll start running, though. Already 126k damage, and a lot of that we didn't have to move because we were in such a good spot. This is kind of like, think about where you're going to go. In my latest video, where we talked about playing against radar, we went over like preparing, going into a game, looking for where should you go, and boom, there's a nice little double sit right there to end the game. You would have been fine there for the rest of it. But just thinking about your next step, where are you going to go when they push towards you from a certain direction? Break it down, always have an out route, especially for something like this. And find those islands, find that cover where you can be very, very effective. Again, looking at your mini-map, that'll always tell you where to go. But a pretty decent game at bottom tier, top of the team, 135k damage. We had a ton of camos and flags and stuff like that. We're getting through the Cleveland pretty quick. 23k XP. But that base XP at bottom tier, Cleveland can be super, super, super effective even at bottom tier. We shot down the most planes. We did a ton of damage. We got base caps, all kinds of assists and stuff like that. And that's because we were just in a really, really good spot. The Cleveland top tier, bottom tier is all about location, setting up and making them come to you, basically making them work for it, and you can basically just sit back and just be a Cleveland. But anyways, guys, this was brought up by one of the viewers asking about how to play the Cleveland. A lot of people are having some trouble because it's a relatively fragile ship, but I think a lot of people are playing it incorrectly because it's a fragile ship, so you want to kind of work with its strength and get behind that cover. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.